Good afternoon, dear students. In the last lecture, we discussed about single cell protein and how and why microorganisms are used as a source of single cell protein. What are the different classes of microorganisms that can be used as a single cell protein, right? Number one, bacteria. Number two, yeast and molds, that is fungi and algae. All of them can be used as a source of single cell protein. In the last video, we discussed about various type of bacteria like hydrocarbon utilizing bacteria, hydrogen utilizing bacteria, then methane, methanol utilizing bacteria, different types of different species of organisms, and how they can be used as single cell protein, and what are the disadvantages of using bacterial cell as a protein source. Now let us discuss about yeast. As compared to bacteria, yeast cells have more advantages as a source of single cell protein. Okay, as compared to bacteria, yeast cells have more advantages, right, as a source of single cell protein. What are they? Number one, the harvesting of yeast cells is simple or easier because they are larger in size as compared to bacteria. Okay, so yeast being larger in size than bacteria, harvesting of yeast cells is easy and comparatively cheaper. The most important advantages of yeast, using yeast as single cell protein, is that its acceptability among general public and its frequent use in day-to-day life. You all know that Saccharomyces cerevisiae is a yeast. It is a baker's yeast used in bakeries, right? So public have accepted yeast as a source of food, right? That is the main advantage, that the acceptability of yeast in among general public, and their size is larger, so their harvesting is easy, right? And the cells can tolerate high acidic pH, right? So these are the advantages. The only disadvantage of yeast over bacterial protein is its protein content is low. Okay, protein content is 45 to 65%, whereas it is as high as 80% in bacteria. So lower protein content is the only disadvantage of yeast, right? Then, what are the different types of yeast that can be used as a source of single cell protein? Saccharomyces cerevisiae, Saccharomyces carlsbergensis, which can be cultivated on molasses and used as food and fodder yeast, right? Candida utilis, Candida tropicalis, Candida pseudotropicalis can also serve as a source of single cell protein. Number 3, fungi. Mold, we can say. Molds. Filamentous fungi can be easily harvested, but they have their limitation in growth rate and low protein content. Okay. Now, molds, because they are filamentous in nature, it's very easy to harvest them. But what is the limitation? Growth rate is slower as compared to bacteria, and protein content is lower. Okay. Now, fungal protein, at the same time, fungal protein is deficient in methionine and contains excessive nucleic acid. Otherwise, first rate proteins are produced by fungi, and that too on any organic waste like cellulosic material, be it any organic waste, fungi will grow on it, molds will grow on it. Okay, and they will give you first grade proteins at a cheaper rate. Okay, but the only disadvantage is it is deficient in methionine, right, and protein content is lower. Otherwise, they are the best source of single cell protein. Fungi like Aspergillus oryzae, Rhizopus rhizis can be used to yield protein rich products. Aspergillus oryzae, Rhizopus rhizis can be used to yield protein rich products. Algae, the fourth class of organism. Algae are a good source of protein. In addition to protein, they also contained abundant amounts of beta carotene, vitamin K, small quantity of vitamin C. So, in addition to protein, they also serve to supply beta carotene, vitamin K, vitamin C also. Even though they have so many advantages, there are certain disadvantages also, because the cell wall of algae is made up of cellulose, and the cellulosic cell wall of algae cannot be easily digested by human beings, and algal single cell protein has undesirable unpleasant taste and high concentration of heavy metals, right? So heavy metals can be very toxic or dangerous to humans, right? So they have an unpleasant taste and high metal concentration. Algal protein contains low level of sulfur containing amino acids, right? Still all these disadvantages can be overcome, and still algae are used as a source of single cell protein. What are the main important algae? What are those? Cnidesmus, chlorella, spirulina, anabina, and others. Now, all of you must have heard about spiruvin tablets. Spiruvin tablets are nothing but protein supplements prepared from the alga spirulina. Okay, so spirulina is largely used, the alga spirulina is largely used as a source of single cell protein in tableted form, right? And it can give you, it can satisfy the protein deficiencies in human beings. It can be used as a supplement. The industrial interest lies in Synedesmus, chlorella, spirulina. Okay, for example, we have taken one example of Synedesmus. It contains 50 to 60% proteins, 12 to 14% fatty acids, 10 to 17% carbohydrates, 3 to 10% fiber, and 4 to 8% water. So like that, algae can be used as a single cell protein also. Now, if single cell protein is to be used successfully as a protein supplement, it must satisfy the 5 following criterias. What are the 5 following criterias that a product must satisfy to be used as a good source of single cell protein? Number 1, the single cell protein must be safe to eat. It should be safe to eat. It should not increase uric acid level. It should be non-toxic and all. Okay? Number 2, it should possess adequate nutritional value. It should have good nutritional value. It should be acceptable to the general public. It should be economical. It should be functional during its storage period or during its long shelf life, right? So the first and most important, it should be safe to eat, should have adequate nutritional value, acceptability among public, economical, and functionality during long storage life. Now, what are the different raw materials that are used for the production of single cell protein? There are n number of raw materials, industrial waste and all, that can be used as a raw material for producing single cell protein by using bacteria or yeast or fungi. Okay, right. Now, carbon dioxide, number 1. These are the raw materials: CO2, molasses, whey, starchy waste, cellulosic wood molasses, sulfite, waste liquor, gas oil, paraffin oil, methane, and methanol. These are the raw materials. I repeat again: carbon dioxide, molasses, whey, starchy waste, cellulosic wood molasses, okay, then sulfite waste liquor, gas oil, paraffin oil, methane, methanol are all raw materials that can be used for producing single cell protein on a large scale. CO2 is directly utilized by, of course, photosynthetic organism, that is algae, to produce the protein extract. So algae, you don't need any special carbon source for algae because they can use CO2 as a carbon source and produce protein extracts. Now, yeast cells can use molasses, whey, okay, sulfite waste liquor, gas oil, paraffin oil, methane, and methanol. And the yeast can use all these raw materials and produce the protein product. Now, fungi can use starchy waste, cellulosic wood waste, sulfite waste liquor. Actually, starchy waste and cellulosic wood molasses need to be hydrolyzed, preheated, because they do not contain readily available sugar. So they are hydrolyzed, pre-treatment is given, and then fungi can use them and produce single cell protein. Okay. So fungi can use starchy waste, cellulosic wood molasses, and sulfite waste liquor and produce proteins. Yeast can use a variety of raw materials and produce 60% of protein, yeast based. Some of them is baker's yeast and some of them is protein extract. Bacteria, methane using bacteria we have studied, methanol using bacteria, hydrocarbon using bacteria like paraffin oil, okay, and N-paraffin using bacteria, then photosynthetic bacteria, okay, they can be used. So, and protein, 80% of bacterial based proteins can be produced by using this raw material. Okay, so this is about what are the different raw materials that can be used for producing single cell protein on a large scale. So we will stop here, and in the next class we will discuss about production of single cell protein using yeast.